Today I'll be teaching you about a game called Close Call, and we'll be going over variations for students in grades K through 2. All you need is a deck of cards, and for the first variation, you're going to remove all the face cards, so you just have ace through 10. In the easiest version of this game, the objective is to get as close to 10 as possible without going over. Each of the two players is dealt 3 cards, and they try to use the cards to add up as close to they can as 10 without going over. Usually the players would be hiding their cards so the other player can't see, but since we're learning to play, I'm showing the cards. So this player would probably want to create 10 by using these 2 5s. This player would just use this 1 9 since that's the closest they can get to 10 without going over. So this player would put out their 9 when both players are ready, and this player would put out their 2 5s. And since this player got closer to 10, they win the cards. Each player picks up as many cards as they need to so that they can have 3 cards in their hand again, and we play another round. In this round, this player would probably play the 1 and the 9, and this player would use all 3 cards, the 4, the 5, and the 1. If there's a tie like this where each player has 10, the player who used the most cards to build the number wins all the cards. And so this player again wins the cards since they needed 3 cards instead of 2. In this round, this player would probably play 9, and this player could make 10, and so they'd win the cards again. Play continues until you've gone through the whole deck of cards, and the player with the most cards wins. Another variation of this game, which is a little bit harder, is to try to get as close to 20 as possible without going over. And this time you get to use up to 4 cards, and so 4 cards are dealt each time. So this player would probably want to choose the 8, and the 4. That will make exactly 20. This player would probably want to use all 4 cards because that will add up to 18. But since this player had 20, that's more, and so they win all the cards. This player needs to take 3 more cards for the next round since they kept 1, and this player needs all 4 new cards. This player would probably make 19, and this player would use all their cards again, and they'd make 19. Again, if there's a tie, the player that used more cards to make their number will win the cards. If there's a round where there's still a tie with the same total, so both players have made 20, and both players use the same amount of cards, 3 cards, what you'll do instead is take those cards that were used, and you'll actually put them back in the play pile, but you'll reshuffle the play pile so that no one wins them, but they can go back and play in a different order. And so we redeal 3 cards to each player, so they have a total of 4, and we keep playing. Students in 2nd grade who are ready to add 2 two-digit numbers together can play a version where they're trying to get as close to 100 as possible without going over. In this version of the game, we want to remove the 10s because we're going to be using the cards to build two-digit numbers such as 63 or 75. So in this version, you want to deal 6 cards to each player, and they're going to use 4 of those cards to build 2 two-digit numbers that when added together are as close to 100 as possible without going over. So for example, one player might choose to make 67 and 31, which would give them a sum of 98. The other player might make 48 plus 52, which would give them a sum of exactly 100. So the player shown on the top would win the 8 cards used for this round. Each player would keep the 2 cards they didn't use this round and would get 4 new cards for the next round. If a player gets a hand where it's not possible to build 2 two-digit numbers with a sum less than 100, the player can choose any 4 cards to get rid of, and they'll forfeit those cards for that round. The other player will get them and will get a win, and they'll get 4 new cards for the next deal. Like in the other versions, if both players wind up with a tie, in this case, both made a sum of 100, again, the 4 cards go back into the playing deck of the cards that haven't yet been used, and you shuffle up those cards before dealing out another round. A fun way to add a little extra challenge to this version is to put the jacks and queens back in the deck. The queens are going to be zeros, and the jacks are going to be wilds, so they can be used as any digit. So for example, this player could build 60 plus 36 to get 96, and this player might use their jack as a 6 so that they can get 34 plus 64 to get 98. One final version of this game is to use subtraction to try to get the target number of 49 without going over. Like the double-digit addition version, you'll deal each player 6 cards again, and if you want to use the jacks and the queens, you may. And you're trying to create subtraction problems as close to 49, but without going over. So for example, this player might build 86 minus 37, which is exactly 49. And this player was also able to get 49 by doing 91, using the jack as a wild to create 42. And 91 minus 42 is also 49. So again, we'd have a tie. These cards would go back in the deck that hadn't been used and shuffled. I hope you enjoy playing these games and encourage you to create your own variations as well.